Ever scrolled through Instagram and thought, wow, their life is perfect.
Mm.
But what if that influencer, with millions of followers, the flawless fashion icon, wasn't even human?
Yeah.
Buckle up, because
Oh,
today we're
yeah.
diving deep into the world of AI influencers.
Right.
We've got this article exploring just what they are,
Mm.
how they're impacting the influencer landscape,
Yeah.
and some of the mind-blowing implications they bring.
Yeah, it really is fascinating how we've gone from those simple chatbots to like these incredibly realistic AI personas who are
Yeah.
partnering with major brands.
Yeah.
And it makes you question what influence even means in the digital age.
Right. It's not just posting a pretty picture anymore.
Uh-huh.
This article dives into some specific AI influencers that are making waves. For example, Lil McKella, with 2.6 million followers, has landed deals with luxury brands like Dior and Prada.
Imagine a virtual influencer on the cover of Vogue. Like, Lil McKella's success really highlights how these AI creations are blurring the lines between high fashion and the digital world, and it challenges traditional notions of exclusivity and what makes a brand desirable.
And it's not just a Western phenomenon. The article mentioned Ludo Magalu, a Brazilian AI influencer,
Oh, wow.
with a staggering 6.9 million followers,
Yeah.
showing just the global reach of
Yeah.
this trend.
It's everywhere.
It's not just about fashion either. We've got Shudu Graham, a digital supermodel,
Mm-hmm.
and KDA, a virtual K-pop group.
Oh, cool.
It seems like every corner of the internet is getting its own AI ambassador.
Exactly. And that brings us to the next level.
Okay.
AI influencers generated entirely by AI, often using something called generative adversarial networks, or GANs.
Now, I'll admit, Jans sound intimidatingly complex.
They sound scary.
Can you break it down for us?
Yeah, so think of it like this. Imagine a machine learning to paint portraits by studying thousands of masterpieces. It observes brushstrokes, color palettes, composition, and eventually starts creating its own unique portraits, blending what it's learned in surprising ways. That's essentially what a Jan does, only instead of paint. It's working with data, creating new content that's both original and eerily familiar.
So it's not just programmed to be a certain way. It's constantly learning and evolving based on the data it's fed.
Precisely. And the potential for personalization is huge.
Hmm.
Imagine an AI influencer tailoring content to your specific interests, creating a truly individualized experience.
Wow.
It makes you wonder, where's the line between creating a personalized experience and just extremely targeted marketing?
It's a fascinating dilemma. Now, I'm sure many listeners are wondering, how much do these virtual stars actually earn?
Well, the article suggests that AI influencers could potentially rake in anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 a month, mainly through brand partnerships, sponsored content, and even selling virtual merchandise, much like human influencers.
Wow. Not bad for someone who doesn't even exist in the physical world.
Right. Lil McKella, with those high-profile luxury brand deals, could be earning thousands per post.
Wow.
There's also Emma Graham, who's partnered with big names like IKEA and Nike.
Oh, wow.
It seems the range of potential collaborations is pretty vast.
It's clear this is shaking up the influencer marketing industry.
Oh, yeah.
But as with any new technology, it's not all sunshine and roses, right?
Of course. One of the biggest questions is, should it always be clear to followers that they're interacting with an AI?
Right.
Where does authenticity come into play when you're dealing with a manufactured persona?
And what about the potential for bias? After all, AI is only as good as the data it's trained on.
Exactly. These are serious questions that need careful consideration.
It seems like we're just scratching the surface of what's possible with AI influencers. It's both exciting and a little unnerving. Where do we go from here? What does the future hold for these virtual entities?
Yeah. That's the million-dollar question. As AI technology advances, we can expect even more lifelike avatars and personalized virtual experiences. It's a brave new world out there, and it's evolving faster than we can imagine. It really makes you wonder if we'll all have a personalized AI assistant curating our online experiences someday, connecting us with brands and content tailored to our unique tastes.
It's like having a personal shopper and stylist all rolled into one, available 24/7. But let's talk about the business side of things for a moment. Brands are clearly investing heavily in these AI influencers. What's the appeal for them?
Well, one of the biggest draws is the level of control and flexibility that AI influencers offer. Imagine being able to perfectly tailor your brand ambassador free from any of the risks associated with human influencers. No scandals, no controversies, no unpredictable behavior.
That makes sense from a brand perspective. You're essentially creating the ideal spokesperson for your product or service. But doesn't that raise questions about authenticity? Won't consumers eventually catch on and feel manipulated?
It's a valid concern. But I think it depends on how these AI influencers are used. If they're presented transparently and if they genuinely provide value to the consumer, then I think there's potential for a mutually beneficial relationship.
So it's not just about replacing human influencers entirely, but rather finding ways for AI and humans to coexist and even complement each other in this space.
Exactly. Think of it as a collaboration. AI can handle the data analysis, the personalization, the behind the scenes work, while humans can focus on creativity strategy and building genuine connections with their audience.
It sounds like a fascinating field to be working in right now. But I imagine some human influencers might be feeling a little threatened by the rise of these virtual stars.
There's definitely a conversation to be had about the impact of AI on the influencer marketing industry and on the creative workforce in general. But I tend to think that AI will ultimately augment human creativity rather than replace it entirely.
So rather than seeing it as a competition, it's more about finding ways to leverage the strengths of both AI and humans.
Precisely. It's about finding that sweet spot where technology enhances human capabilities and allows us to do what we do best, but on a larger scale and with greater impact.
It's an optimistic outlook, and one I hope proves true. But shifting gears for a moment, I'm curious about the legal and ethical implications of all this. For example, if an AI creates a piece of content, a song, or even a piece of art, who owns the rights to that creation?
That's a great question, and it's one that legal experts are still grappling with. We're in uncharted territory here, and it'll be interesting to see how copyright law evolves to address the complexities of AI authorship.
It sounds like there are a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of gray areas that we'll need to navigate as this technology continues to advance.
Absolutely. But that's part of what makes this topic so fascinating. It's a constant evolution, and we're all learning as we go. One thing's for sure, though, AI is here to stay, and it's going to continue to reshape the world around us in ways we can't even imagine yet.
That's both exciting and a little daunting. It makes you wonder what role AI will play in the future of human connection and influence. If we're increasingly interacting with virtual entities, does that change the nature of authenticity and relationships?
It's a thought-provoking question. Perhaps as these AI personas become more sophisticated and integrated into our lives, the lines between real and virtual will continue to blur. We might find ourselves forming genuine connections with these virtual beings, valuing their insights and opinions, even seeking their companionship.
It sounds like something out of a science fiction novel. But
Yeah.
the more we discuss this, the more I realize that the future is closer than we think. And as with any powerful technology, it's crucial that we consider the ethical implications and potential risks. We need to ensure that we're using AI responsibly and that it's ultimately benefiting humanity.
Yeah.
It's a lot to consider. This article touched on how AI influencers might even impact our perception of beauty standards, especially if they're primarily trained on data reflecting a very specific and often unrealistic ideal.
Right. And it makes you wonder if AI influencers could inadvertently reinforce harmful stereotypes or create unrealistic expectations, especially for younger audiences who are particularly impressionable.
It's like holding up a distorted mirror to society, amplifying existing biases instead of challenging them. It seems like there's a real need for diversity and inclusivity in the development and training of these AI influencers.
Absolutely. It's crucial that the teams creating these AI personas are mindful of representation and strive to create a virtual world that reflects the diversity of the real world.
This all raises the question of regulation. Is there any oversight to ensure that these AI influencers are being developed and used responsibly?
That's where things get a bit murky. Right now, there aren't any clear guidelines or regulations specifically for AI influencers. It's still a relatively new phenomenon, and lawmakers are playing catch up.
So it's a bit of a Wild West out there.
In a way, yeah. Which is why it's more important than ever for developers, brands, and consumers to engage in open and honest conversations about the ethical implications of this technology. We need to establish some ground rules to ensure that AI influencers are used in a way that benefits society as a whole.
Transparency seems key. Consumers should know when they're interacting with an AI versus a human, and brands should be upfront about how they're using these virtual entities.
I completely agree. Transparency is crucial for building trust and ensuring that these interactions feel authentic, even if one party isn't human.
And what about data privacy? These AI influencers are collecting a ton of data on their followers, their preferences, their behaviors, their interests. What's